Okay, so we're here with Christy Campbell, who is the founder of Fit Me, who um, they help women develop a diet-free lifestyle that's actually sustainable. So, Christy, thanks so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be a part of this event.
Yeah, I love your mission and what you're doing and the work that you're doing around removing diet culture. I think that's really amazing. And it's something that we need. Okay, so what I have are a few icebreaker questions just for
Sure.
you. Okay, so what is your favorite like personal growth, health, mindset book?
Easy answer, Essentialism.
Oh, wow.
Um, Essentialism by Greg McCowan. I think it's his like little tagline below it is like the disciplined art of less but better or something like that. But I apply this to everything and just being able to say no and set boundaries and edit. I highly recommend this book. It's an easy audiobook to listen to too. It's pretty quick.
Awesome. I'm definitely going to read that one. And then what is your favorite food?
Oh, my favorite food. So I grew up on the Eastern Shore of Maryland. So I'm a seafood girl. So if you like had me pick, it would probably be like steamed shrimp. That is like my favorite, like covered in Old Bay, cocktail sauce, that kind of thing.
Dipped in butter. Do you dip it in butter?
No, I don't have to dip it in butter. I mean, if I was going to eat like blue crab or something, I would definitely dip it in butter, or lobster. But shrimp, as long as it's spicy and has cocktail sauce, it's like my favorite.
That's awesome. I love that. I'm a shrimp girl too. So,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so give us a quick rundown of how you got into coaching and the work that you do.
Sure. So I actually am prior Navy. So I grew up, in Maryland, pretty athletic kid, but did not know how to eat. I mean, I was like an 80s baby. So I ate like all the Hamburger Helper, all the like Nutty Buddy bars. Like I thought, you know, cereal, I could eat buckets of cereal. And that's how I grew up eating. But I was pretty athletic. And so when I went into the Navy, um, I actually ended up so I was at the Naval Academy and I ended up hurting my knee and had surgery. Well, fast forward a couple of years and that surgery turned into 10 knee surgeries. And I got married after I graduated, was in the Navy, had 2 babies, and then all of a sudden found myself 40 pounds overweight, not able to exercise, or at least at the time I didn't think I could because I'd had all these knee surgeries. And I had no idea how to eat. I thought like healthy eating was diet food. I thought like, okay, if I'm going to eat healthy, well, then I'm going to start buying, microwave frozen diet meals. I'm going to start drinking Slim Fast. I'm going to start, doing all of the things. So I did all of the things. I found myself at, 27 years old, feeling happy in certain parts of my life. Like I felt like a happy professional. I felt happy as a mom, but I didn't feel happy in my own body. I felt super self-conscious when I would sit on the couch. I would feel like the back fat coming out of my clothes. I didn't want to be in pictures. I would hide in the back of pictures. Even with my kids, like we would go to Disney and I was like, you know, piling my children on top of me and my husband so that I wouldn't physically have to see my body and it would just be like my floating head in any picture. And so I did what I thought you do to lose weight. I did all of the things. I, joined the shake challenges and I started Weight Watchers for the 4th time. And I like did all of these things and it just didn't work. I kept losing and gaining the same, 5 pounds over and over again. And I thought to myself, like, this is what mom life is. This is what happens after you have babies, I guess. Like you don't get to feel like yourself anymore and you don't get to wear clothes that make you feel attractive or young. You just wear clothes that look professional or cover you up. They look nice, but you don't feel like you anymore. And I kind of felt like, well, I have no idea what these other women who I could see in my life, what are they doing? Like, what is this that like their discipline must be better than mine, their motivation, like there's something about them that's better than me. And I was in that place. And luckily my husband, he actually left on deployment. So at that point I was out of the Navy and he's still active duty. So my kids were little bitty, almost 2 and almost 4. So I have a third now. But at this point they were little and he left on deployment and I happened to meet a coach. And this wasn't like some fancy, like online guru or something. This was just a incredibly solid personal trainer. And he had an outdoor class in the park with like busted equipment. And he gave me really good advice about nutrition and eating more than I was eating, and, not going out to eat so much and drinking water and eating protein. And I worked out. He saw in me what I couldn't see myself. He told me he saw an athlete in there. So he gave that back to me. And at the end of losing, that weight that year, my husband was on deployment. I was like, this is what I'm going to do. He gave back me something that I thought was gone and that I was desperate to get. And so I was like, my degrees are in something totally different, but I was like, I'm going to be a coach. And so I started as a personal trainer. I had my own class in the park. Then I started, in CrossFit and weightlifting, and I was really into training people in person. And then at a certain point, I realized there's so much more to the day than just what you do in the gym. And the people that I was really passionate about helping had a lot more going on with food and just balance and body image. And so I started doing one-on-one nutrition coaching. And I did that for a little while. And it was very similar to personal training. I loved getting to help people in that specific way. But I saw a trend, which was that a lot of times I was like hoping that I would get to keep somebody long enough that I would actually get to fix the real problems, the root of what was going on. And I felt like for the person that I helped best, they actually needed some like fundamental changes to their lifestyle. And that if they would do those, they'd actually get 90% of the way to their goal. Like I could get them most of the way there just from changing some of their habits and the way that they think about food and the way that they have boundaries around it. And so I completely restructured everything. I stopped doing, the typical one-on-one nutrition coaching. I built a team of coaches that help people do diet-free, sustainable weight loss. And so we focus on the habits, we focus on that foundation, that 90%, because my person needs that most, because they have a lot of real life going on. Maybe they're like me and they have, a spouse who's not there very often, or, they have multiple kids or a job situation, or they're taking care of a parent, or they have an autoimmune condition or an injury, and they had no foundation to come back to. Nothing like had no foundation when I found myself at that, that point, 40 pounds overweight and totally unhappy. And so that's what we do. We give people that foundation. And so that's kind of like my coaching origin story, and how I am where I am today is helping people with that.
I love that. And I think what you're saying right now, it's resonating with me. And so I think that it probably is resonating with everyone, because we all get to that place to where we know we need to make a change. It's just how we're going to do that. Mm-hmm. And, a lot of like fast fix programs out there, they don't do that for people. It's a skill set. They don't give them the skill set that will take them the distance, and for the rest of their life.
Yeah. And there's some that are straight nonsense, right? Like the payday loan version of weight loss. Like, that it's not even legit, but you're going to do it anyway, because you're like, well, even if I get short-term results, maybe I want them. But we usually can spot those. Like we're at least aware. I mean, it kind of pollutes our minds a little bit, just seeing those transformations. I think those can be really toxic. But I think, some of those like fad diets and gimmicks, they're tempting. Even though we know that they're not going to last. But I also think there's been some like really good intentional things about, things that work really well for athletes, things that really work well for professional, bodybuilders or fitness competitors, that those tools are great, but those are not enough. So those tools, when applied without a foundation, leave you in the same place, because as soon as life throws you a curveball, if you don't have those foundations, it doesn't matter if you know how to fit your macros, like it's not going to work when life falls apart. It also like doesn't matter if you know how to carb cycle, or like, exercise and eat for your exercise plan. Like that's all great until life, pulls the rug out. If you don't have a foundation, you're equally in a bad position. And so even some of the good tools, I think, are missing, that important piece.
I love that. Okay. So what has been the greatest challenge that you found with your clients or your audience facing?
I think the biggest challenge is a fear of failure. Most of the people that we coach in Fit Me have done numerous diets. They've done multiple things that have not worked. And the lesson that they learn isn't that the diet was like never going to work. That's not the lesson that they take away. The lesson that they take away is that they weren't able to do it. Like they don't have the motivation, they don't have the discipline, they don't have the same character qualities as other people who apparently have it together in regards to food or exercise. And so to me, that's a really big challenge to overcome, because even when presented with the solution, there's still a little bit of doubt and disbelief that it will work, and that they can do it. And so getting people to start celebrating little wins is really effective, like giving them the knowledge that any giant task you're going to accomplish is just a series of little wins added up. And so when you start to acknowledge and look for them in your day, then you can build some momentum. And most of the time people are thinking, well, I need motivation. I need to get motivated so that I can build some momentum. And I think it's actually the other way around. You actually start looking for these little wins and earning them because they're doable. Like going for a small walk is doable. Like adding some veggies to your lunch is a doable. And most people would be like, well, who cares? But it does matter. Those little wins start to add up. And once you do that, then you're building momentum. Then you can feel motivated, but motivation is just a feeling. And so that's the challenge that I see that most of, our members inside Fit Me face when they first start, and immediately what we address so that they can get past that and realize that they can do it.
Yeah, I love that. And I 100% agree with you that, like, I tell people all the time, like, you have 10 minutes in your day that you can move your body. And if you do 10 minutes a day for a week, that's 70 minutes, which is more than an hour, right? A week. And like, if you're not doing anything, like, that's a lot, And so
Yeah.
just start with something that's tolerable and manageable, and people want to chalk it up to willpower, but like, that's not it. It has nothing to do with your willpower.
No, and honestly, you only have a certain amount of willpower anyway. So
Right.
you're not even going to be successful if that's going to be how you um, are able to make decisions about your food or your movement, is like, what do I have the mental willpower for today? It just doesn't work like that. I use this metaphor about moving bricks, and I did a training on this like a month ago, but it was basically like, if you look at, two women and they both have a giant pile of bricks behind them and they have to move it over this hill. Well, one woman, she's like, well, I'm doing it. And she's kind of like the all in, hops on the really restrictive diet, and she's moving like 10 bricks a day for the first 7 days. She's got like 70 bricks on the other side. And the girl who's moving maybe one day or two the next day, and then one, she feels discouraged because she looks over there and she's like, oh my God, look how far ahead she is. And women feel that all the time when they're trying to make good, healthy habit changes. They see someone else who's doing, the packaged meal plan or whatever, the shake thing and the HCG diet or whatever it is. And they're like, look how fast her results are. And they start to feel frustrated. But what happens for that woman who's moving, 10 bricks at a time, as soon as one thing happens, all stop. No more bricks are getting moved. She quits, because that's what you do when you're doing those kind of programs. They don't work. So you quit. And even though you made some really big progress in the beginning, it doesn't continue. And usually you lose it anyway. But the woman who's willing to move 1 or 2 bricks a day and keep going over a year, she's got thousands of bricks over there now. Whereas even if the woman restarted her diet 2 or 3 times a year, which is what people do, if you took 70 and multiplied that by 3, it's like 210 bricks. That's nothing. Like if you look at, like, if the woman who, on an average only moved 5 bricks, like say some days were really good, some days were crap, but average, she got a F. Like if we were going to give her a score, she moved 5 bricks a day, like 5 times 360. I mean, you do the math.
Yeah.
It's significantly more progress, like epically more.
That is like the best analogy that I've heard, and I've heard several of them, but it's such a simplistic way to like look at it, I love that. I may steal that from you too.
I did a training on it, and just, you would give yourself an F. Today wasn't even that good. I only did a couple of things, but you moved 5 bricks today. Like,
Yeah.
no, you didn't move 10, but like, just keep it up.
Yeah. I love that. Seriously, gonna steal that. Okay, so what is the single most important thing that women today need to know or do to create a lifestyle that supports their goals?
Protect their boundaries.
Good.
And well, I guess create them first. Create them first and protect them second. Women in particular really struggle with this, whether it's at home or in a work setting. We want to help. A lot of women like to help people solve problems. We like to be supportive for the people around us. If someone's like, can you stay late? The answer is yes. Can you pick up the slack here? The answer is yes. Can you skip that and help me with this? The answer is yes. And so starting to create some boundaries around what you need to take care of yourself, and then learning the language around that can be incredibly helpful for creating those healthy habits, because you can have all of the knowledge in the world if you're not able to say, thanks for asking me to help with so and so thing on Saturday morning, but I'm going to need to help you later in the day because that's my workout time. If you can't do that, then your workout time is always going to be gone. If you don't know how to say, yeah, thanks for offering me that cupcake, but no thanks, like I'm going to pass. That is hard. But if you have good language around that, because you know that this weekend you're going on date night and you'd much rather save your treat for then, and you're not even into that cupcake, you don't even like it. But the feeling of guilt of like, I don't want to say no, I don't want them to think I'm on a diet, whatever, that's a boundary issue. So empowering women to have like ownership around those boundaries, and then teaching women how to reinforce them with the right language so you don't feel like a jerk or like someone who's just like, I mean, you can reinforce it that way, but most women don't want to. That is like the overlooked piece.
Yeah. Yeah. I largely agree with that. That is so good, especially like in the South. Like we do everything around food. And if somebody offers, you just accept it. Like it's just the polite thing to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I love that. Okay, so where do you see women go wrong in their nutrition and exercise routines, and what should they do instead?
I think the biggest thing that women do that kind of is self-sabotage is be too restrictive,
Mm-hmm.
or to adopt a all or nothing mentality around it. People do this with both nutrition and exercise, and in some ways it's almost popularized as a positive. Are you all in on your thing? Are you committed to 100 days straight of perfection? Like, have you emptied your house of absolutely everything? Those things sound really good and they're like hype, but they're actually a little bit of self-sabotage, because most of the time, if you've got kids, if you've got a job, if you've got a relationship, if you have real life of any kind, you're going to have curveball in there. And so it's a big mistake to think that you have to be all in on any of those things. It's a much more effective approach to know how to push when the time is right. Like when things are going good, you can push yourself and do more. And when things are tough, having this like base of foundation. Okay, well, today I didn't get a workout in, but I did go for a walk. Like I got that in, and that's something. And not just be saying that, not just be like, it's something, but really I didn't do anything. Really acknowledge, nope, it's something. So this is a mistake that we kind of all get caught up in, because it's like sexy and hype to be all in and to do perfect. But I even encourage women who come to Fit Me who've been tracking for a lot of years, and they use that as a tool that works for them. And I think it's a totally valid tool. I encourage them to take breaks on purpose, so that they could flex in and out of that, as opposed to having, that restriction. So that's kind of the big mistake. So the alternative would be to find an approach, whether that is a method, a coach, a system, where it doesn't require perfection or all in, or black and white.
Well, and then just speaking frankly, perfection does not exist.
Mm-mm.
Right. And that applies to everything, and especially in like food and exercise, because I mean, there's life, first of all. Second of all, like your body could need something. Like you may be having like hella carb cravings or sugar cravings because your body needs carbs that day, and if you need to go over because of how you feel, but based on your numbers, that's a bad thing to do. Like, it just makes you feel bad in the long run. So I think once we get to a place where we can just kind of accept that like perfection does not exist, then it actually allows us the freedom to flex a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think again, like it's around this misinformation that
Yeah.
the only way to lose body fat, to feel healthy again, to like be in a healthy, mindset around food is the only way to get there is restriction. The only way to get there is to diet. Then once you get there, okay, well, great. Now you can learn to do maintenance and stuff. That's not true. And so I think, again, it's misinformation. And that's what I get like fired up about is I want women to have accurate information. If you change what you do every day, and again, these don't have to be epic changes, but if you just live differently,
Yeah.
it starts to add up and then you will see those physical changes. And it's not just like me making this up, like this is proven. Habits work. They really do. I mean, think about it in the reverse, right? Nobody just wakes up one day and has gained 30 pounds.
Right.
It's a series of small decisions, little things that change about your routine that add up. Like maybe one day your job shifted from you being on your feet all the time to you sitting. That's just like a small change. You don't even notice it, but now you're sitting at the computer most of the time. And maybe you used to pack your lunch because you had time in the morning, but now you go out to eat most days because it's just easier. It's not like a big thing. It's not something you even barely paid attention to. And maybe you used to drink once a month with, girlfriends, but now with COVID and everything locked down, it's become, a couple times a week that you have a couple glasses of wine. You didn't even notice it. And then, little things, maybe your gym shut down a year ago and then you kind of did some stuff at home for a while, but then like now it's kind of faded. And how'd you get there? Well, guess what? It was a series of small things that added up over the course of a year. And that's how you gain 30 pounds. Well, you lose it the exact same way. You start to make a series of small changes. Instead of sitting all day, you get up and you start moving more. You drink more water, you drink less alcohol, you start to like eat out less and pack food more, and eat at home. You start to think, okay, well, how do I get stronger? And let me add some workouts into my week. It's those small changes that add up over the course of the year so that a year from now, you're like, oh, I lost 30 pounds.
Mm-hmm. This is so good. I seriously want to like jump up and down in my seat over here, but I'm trying to like keep my composure so I'm not distracting from what you're saying. So good. Okay. So what do you feel the most called to do in health and fitness, and how can those listening uncover a path to success that will work for them?
I am very much called to the person who feels maybe like the misfit or the person who has too much life going on, that they are, feeling that they have to wait to do the XYZ program because it wouldn't work for them. I am drawn to the people who have a lot of life going on. I'm called to give them that empowered information, the habits, the coaching to create the change that they're looking for, that first 90%. My life, I still have a lot going on. I mean, my boys are 10 and 12, but I have a daughter who's almost 2. She was a surprise, and she was a surprise 6 days before my husband left on deployment. And then he was gone for deployment for a year. And then he got stuck on the East Coast for an additional, I think, almost 9 months because of COVID. When the military wasn't doing any movement and stuff, he got stuck on the East Coast. So almost, my entire pregnancy and her almost first year, he wasn't home. And again, like that feels hard, even as a woman who's postpartum trying to lose body fat, feel like herself again, like it's hard as a mom to juggle all those things. It's hard as an entrepreneur, as a coach and a leader and a mentor and a business person. So to me, I'm really drawn to people who have life challenges and giving them the inspiration and tools that they need. I don't know if that answered your question.
It does, and I love that. We can be mom friends too, because I have a 3-year-old who is also surprised. And so, yes, it totally does. And I think as women, we have lots of challenges, but when you throw children into the mix and families into the mix, it like it almost just makes it like exponential, right? Because the expectation gets raised, but also um our willingness to give that of ourselves, it just becomes so much more ingrained in our identity, really. And that's sometimes how we lose ourselves, because we just give and give and give, and we just don't take time for ourselves. And that's, that's part of the struggle, is that we don't give ourselves back the same that we give to others. So
Yeah, and most women would feel like, I mean, I 100% identify with what you're saying. So
mhm,
you have this struggle where you're like, I literally can't, right? Like if I was, those 2 years I was single momming it with a new baby and all the things, and I could say to myself, well, I literally can't. Like it's not in my control. Like I can't do X, Y, and Z. And that's where there's a gap. That feeling of I can't versus the feeling of like, oh, I have to be all in. That's the pace, that's the place I fill,
yeah,
because I'm like, wait a minute, we can
yeah,
do something, and you deserve to do something. You don't deserve to have to wait 2 years or 20 years, to start taking care of yourself. We can thrive as women, we can thrive as moms. But it does take a perspective shift of like, no matter what your heart is, there's something little that you can do. And even the postpartum season is super frustrating. People have this
yeah,
expectation to like pop out a baby and then like 8 weeks later you're supposed to be back in the gym, because isn't 8 weeks when you're released to go work out? So why aren't you working out again? Or all these women on Instagram and Facebook that have like hashtag fit pregnancy, and they look like they've never had a baby, or like they had that dumb trend for a while where it didn't look like someone was pregnant from behind, and then they would turn around and you'd see this big belly. Well, for me, I gained almost all my pregnancy weight in my hips and my back. And so it was just like, from the back, I didn't look like I wasn't pregnant. I looked like I was so much wider. And so there's this like toxic imagery around what is expected of women in the postpartum season. It's just not accurate. And so it's frustrating. And I remember, I was probably 5 months postpartum from my daughter. And I gained 50 pounds with each of my first two pregnancies, where I didn't really eat very healthy, by the way, with my boys. Cause that was, again, I told you the story. I didn't know how to eat. So I was eating like Stouffer's mac and cheese and all the things. That was like my go-to everyday food. But with Georgia, like this was not even 2 years ago. So I've got 10,000 hours of coaching and training people. Like I ate pretty healthy.
yeah,
I did my best. It was not perfect, but I ate decent. And I also exercised consistently. Guess what? I gained 40 pounds, because that's what my body does during pregnancy. Like I gain a decent chunk of weight. So at, 4 or 5 months postpartum, I hadn't lost all that weight yet. That'd be crazy fast. I was nursing full time. Like it just wasn't going
yeah,
to come off that fast. And I remember signing up to do what was like a boudoir, but it wasn't meant to be sexy photo shoot, like
yeah.
a no clothes, bare minimum clothes photo shoot, on purpose to celebrate the in between.
Mhm.
Because the only pictures that you see are of like pregnant woman. You're like, yay, mama, you're pregnant. You got all these maternity pictures. And then you see these after pictures.
Yeah,
Yay, mama, you did it. You lost all your weight. Like you're some kind of superhero. Again, we should celebrate that. But nobody wants to celebrate that in between body, the transition that's happening as your body like restores, rebuilds,
yeah,
all of that. So I did those pictures not because I felt super comfortable in my body. I actually didn't, but I wanted to honor that season in between where like, no, I'm not 100% comfortable in my skin yet, but I'm not going to skip this
right.
and not take pictures of myself because I'm not at the standard of Instagram yet. And so I just don't think women hear that enough. And in fact, they think that they need to hide until they're like, their bodies are worthy of, being picture ready. And a lot of women, their bodies never go back to looking the way they did. They have stretch marks, they have changes. Like you can be fit and healthy and still have stretch marks. You can be fit and healthy and have extra skin,
Yeah.
or maybe your boobs are different. All of that is normal, but you just don't see it very much.
Yeah, I love that you celebrated that moment for yourself. That's something that's going to be very special to you for literally like the rest of your time. Just the fact that you really gave that to yourself,
Mhm.
So I love that.
It was a
Um,
deliberate act. I think that's the other thing that we think about in terms of relationship with our body. We
yeah.
think of one day we're going to feel better
Mhm.
about our bodies. But in any relationship, you have to deliberately do things on purpose for someone, to
Yeah.
build a relationship. And we can do that with we can do that with ourselves.
Mhm.
Doing that wasn't because I really felt like it, to be honest. It was an act of, let me do this for you.
Mhm.
And again, that's how you improve your relationship with your body. You start to make choices to honor your body, or to respect your body, or to be kind to your body. Those are deliberate choices. Those are not like, accidentally. And so even what you put on your body, one of the things we talk about in Fit Me is no sad clothes. And that means, like, I don't care what season you're in. I don't care if you're, at the very beginning of your weight loss journey. Putting your body in clothes that make you feel crappy and that you hate, it's not going to work. So you've got to wear happy clothes, even if that means go buy a couple things that actually you feel good in. You're going to be more successful with your journey, wearing happy clothes than sad clothes. And
Love that.
again, mid weight loss postpartum, you think, well, I'm not going to buy anything right now.
Right.
I don't want to stay here. I'm going to like try to get back to my other thing, but that's not kind.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't tell a friend that. You wouldn't be like, girl, you don't deserve any clothes right now. You better get your body back in shape. Then you can go shopping. Like, you would never do that. That'd be the worst thing, but we do it to ourselves all the time.
That's so true. That is such a true statement. Okay, so what's your one unique piece of advice that you think all of our listeners need to hear?
I think my unique piece of advice is that the parts of you that you focus on as your weaknesses are probably right next door to your strengths. And so instead of looking at the places in your life where you feel frustrated with yourself, and focusing on those, try to look right next door. Because if you're somebody who maybe feels like like we talked about boundaries, right? Like you don't have good boundaries. You like say yes to everything, and you're frustrated because you have a hard time saying no, and it's impacting you. Well, that could be something you focus on and feel bad about. But you could also look right next door to the fact that you are a giver, that you're somebody who's compassionate and caring. And so focusing on that helps you to create the boundaries that you need. So you say, I am a giver. I'm somebody who wants to help. That is a part of me. That is who I am. And that's why right now I've got to say no, because I've got this other thing, but I would love to help you later. And so again, it's not like, oh, this is my weakness and where I default, I always do this to myself. It's kind of owning that strength piece that's right next door. So I don't know if that's unique advice, but
I think that's very unique.
okay.
I've never heard it put that way before, but that's great. I may quote you on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I might quote that. Okay, so you have a free gift for everyone.
Yes.
Okay, and so tell us about that, and then tell us how we can get connected to you, like your social media stuff. And so how can we connect with you that way?
So there's two ways to connect with me, like on the regular. First is on Instagram. So if you follow me on Instagram, it's at Christy May Campbell. I post in my stories real life stuff every day. You'll see my people, my dogs, my life, like all the things. But my posts are designed to give you those one things that you can do every day. So if you follow me, that's what you'll see. And it's real life stuff. I'll give it to you real, just like we talked about on here. The other place that you can connect with me is I have a short podcast. It's Monday through Friday. It's 5 to 7 minutes long. So super duper short. Like you could listen to it while you're in the bathroom, like getting ready for your day, or if you're driving to drop somebody off. It's called Fit Me Coffee Talk. And I would love for you to check it out and listen. It's very short, a hybrid of inspiration, direction, a change of perspective, a lot of like the things that we talked about on here. It's just a different way to look at things and something that you can use in your day. So those are the two ways to connect with me. I do have a free gift. And so if you go to fitmegift.com, I have a special gift just for the listeners of this, special event. And so I would love for you to go there, fitmegift.com, to get a gift from me.
Awesome. And I'll drop that link in the chat to make it easy for people to grab. So awesome. I have so enjoyed this conversation with you. Thank you so much for coming and being part of this conversation. Really, you've given me new perspectives, so I know that you're going to give all of our listeners new perspective too. And as a professional, I really appreciate the work that you're doing, because some of the things that you're speaking to are things that I'm not hearing from other people. And when I find special and unique people like that, I really perk up and pay attention to them, because I'm a person who goes against the grain, especially when I know that the grain doesn't work. And so people like you who bring unique perspective and are teaching things that are not being taught is really, really special and needed in our industry. So thank you for that too.
Thank you for having me. This was very fun, and I look forward to getting to know the people who are listening and participating in this event.
Love that. Awesome.